People talk all the time about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, even democracy, freedom, these sorts of things. But they lose the plot, right? They lose the forest through the trees. They forget that these things are instruments. They're not inherent goods by themselves. They're supposed to lead or be a tool to lead towards something else that's good, right? So is the purpose of freedom of speech or freedom of expression just so anybody can say what they want? No, it's not a procedural good. It's supposed to actually lead us to the truth, right? The idea is that if we don't have a certain amount or a certain degree of freedom to say something or write something or whatever, then the people who are controlling us are going to cover up the truth some way, right? And so it's supposed to be an instrument or a procedure that is utilized to lead us towards a certain good, which is the truth, okay? But what happens if freedom of expression or freedom of speech actually isn't used in the service of the truth? What if it's used in the service of power? What if it's used in the service of discrimination? What if it's used in the service of bigotry, right? And what if the people who are declaring falsehoods and spreading misinformation are actually using as an excuse freedom of expression and freedom of speech and all these sorts of things, right? That's where we've gotten to today. Right. We kind of have, some people have a trigger for like the kind of the Cold War mentality where we're afraid of the totalitarian state of 1984, George Orwell, where the government's going to tell us what we can say and what we can't say. Right. But then you have Huxley's Brave New World, and that gives us a different dystopia, which is the dystopia of too much freedom, where everybody's saying everything. And now you can't determine what's true and what's not. So which dystopia are we living in? We're living in the second one, at least in this part of the world, right? We're flooded with misinformation, lies, slander, bigotry, all these sorts of things. And it's the cover that it's provided is quote unquote freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And if you want to really see why this is actually an exercise of power and not something that keeps power in check, then look at who is the target of free speech and freedom of expression. Who are the people that are the butt end of the joke, and who never are the butt end of the joke? Who's never in the crosshairs of freedom of speech and freedom of expression and satire and mockery and things like this? What we find is Islam and the Muslims are always in the crosshairs and are always the target. They want to be able to mock Islam. They want to be able to mock the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They want to be able to mock the Quran and mock the hijab and mock all these other sorts of things. And they call it freedom of expression. This is just an exercise of power. It has nothing to do with undermining power or keeping power in check or arriving at the truth. It's a power play that's dressed up in the garb of a freedom, and it's phony.